What we've seen today throughout the discussions is that one theme has emerged consistently, and that is cloud sovereignty is becoming an increasingly important element of Europe's broader technology and industrial strategy. Our next speaker is playing a central role in shaping that strategy. As Executive Vice President for Tech Sovereignty, Security and Democracy at the European Commission, she is responsible for some of the European Union's most important digital policy initiatives, helping to shape Europe's approach to technology, innovation, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and digital infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome together Henna Virkkunen.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I see that you have had already very packed and interesting program today. And thank you for Forum Europe for bringing this community together today, and the policymakers, operators, researchers, and civil society representatives in this room for turning cloud sovereignty now from a policy concept into an implementation agenda. Every generation of Europeans has had to answer the same question in a different form. Are we able to shape our own future, or will others shape it for us? And the question remains very valid today. Democracy is under pressure. Also, peace in Europe is not longer guaranteed. Increasingly, today's answer to the question is dependent on technology. When I assumed my role as an EVP, I was tasked with the portfolio of tech, sovereignty, security, and democracy. And to me, this boils down to one central consideration: how we can ensure that Europe not only maintains a leadership in innovation, but does so also in our own terms, in secure, trustworthy, and sovereign fashion. The need to promote technological sovereignty comes after a clear assessment of our current position. The EU is reliant on non-EU providers for most of our digital products, services, and infrastructure. And we know that this is not a situation that emerged overnight, but this is a result of decades of decisions we have made, which might have been reasonable at that time. It has been cheaper to buy than to build. It has been faster to adopt than develop, and it has been more efficient to integrate ourselves into global platforms rather than to invest in our own alternatives. In 2024, the Draghi report put it very clearly. The key driver of the rising EU-US productivity gap is digital tech. If you strip out the main ICT sectors, Europe's productivity has broadly been at the same level with the USA. In other words, the gap is an innovation gap, and it's driven by technology innovation. We already have taken action by putting out competitiveness agenda at the center of our policies, and tech sovereignty is an integral part of this agenda. At the same time, we see that geopolitical fragmentation is now deepening. Supply chains, they are being weaponized. Access to technologies is increasingly an instrument of statecraft. All this has amplified the impact of our dependencies in a way that Europe has never seen before. That is why I truly think that it's an essential question for the EU how and how fast we are able to address such dependencies. But let me be clear with what I mean by technological sovereignty. It does not mean that we do everything ourselves. It does not mean protectionism, decoupling ourselves from global markets, or retreating behind our borders. It is not about closing Europe. It is about giving Europe the ability to develop, control, and scale our critical technologies, services, and data infrastructure. And that must be done in ways that serve our economy, our security, and our society while resisting foreign interference. So we must manage our dependencies from a position of leadership and equal partnership. It means building homegrown capacity across the full supply chain. It means also real alternatives so that European companies and citizens that they have a genuine choice, including the choice to buy European. It means control over data infrastructure. It means also setting standards for strategic technologies, not merely accepting those set elsewhere. And technological sovereign Europe is not a closed Europe. It is the precondition for remaining open, and we are making it happen. When we strengthen our innovation and industrial base, we create a strategic counterweight that allows us to engage with partners from a position of choice, not need. And this is not an aspiration. This is the shift in our stance that you will find reflected in our tech sovereignty package. Now let's focus on CADA, the Cloud and AI Development Act, because this is, of course, central to today's discussion, and I've seen that you have been already discussed about it quite much today. But when looking at cloud, it's very important to recognize that the cloud is not longer just an IT service. It's the infrastructure behind modern public administrations, modern industry, and also modern AI. To many, cloud and data centers may seem like an abstract concept, but yet without them, we may as well be using our phones in an airplane mode, as we know. They are not just where we store our pictures of precious moments, but also where a vast quantity of critical data is kept. A hospital using AI to improve diagnosis needs secure cloud capacity. A small manufacturer that wants to predict machine failures needs affordable cloud services. Also, a city who manages traffic, energy use, or emergency response needs also trusted and scalable infrastructure. A public administration that stores sensitive personal data needs to know who controls the service and who can access the data. And this is not abstract. This is about the medical records of our citizens, it's about the industrial data of our firms, and it's about whether European companies can adopt AI at speed. And cloud and AI are also key drivers for Europe's digital competitiveness and to our sovereignty. With the Cloud and AI Development Act, we are unlocking the potential of European cloud to fuel our AI continent and bring choice back to consumers and businesses. It should not be seen as a restrictive regulation, but as an enabling one. It's not about blocking foreign technology. It's about enlarging consumer choice and ensuring that there are also European alternatives on the market. Firstly, it's about research and innovation. The Act will boost the research and deployment of cutting-edge, resource-efficient cloud and AI capabilities in the EU. It provides a common European vision for research, development, and innovation in cloud and AI over the next decade. It's also about supporting our ambition to make EU an AI continent. Secondly, the Act looks our capacity because Europe currently lacks the infrastructure it needs to serve our AI needs. In the AI Continent Action Plan, we promise to triple data center capacity in the next 5 to 7 years and reach needed capacity in the EU by 2035. Now we are delivering on this promise. With the Cloud and AI Development Act, we are also driving investment through accelerated permitting processes, ensuring sustainable data centers, that they have access to land, energy, and technology. We will boost also investment in the EU so that more data centers can build to meet our fast-growing demand. And this will happen with harmonization, simplification, and incentives for the most energy-efficient and innovative data centers. And thirdly, we will guarantee that for the most critical user cases in the public sector, public authorities, that they will have sufficient access to highly secure EU-based cloud capacity. CADA introduces a single EU-wide sovereignty framework for cloud and AI. And this is very important because sovereignty must be understandable. The proposal defines 4 assurance levels, as you know. And at the first level, data must be processed and stored in the infrastructure located in the Union. At the higher levels, also providers must be, and they must show also their independence from third country interference, transparency over software supply chains, and also EU ownership and control, and at the highest level also full transparency and control. Public sector bodies will walk the talk and use these levels based on risk assessments. We have included also specific provisions to avoid the risks of fragmentations. If every member states, everybody define sovereign cloud differently, if every public buyer writes different procurement requirements, and if every provider has to comply with different rules, then Europe will not scale. We would make the market smaller, more complex, and also more expensive. And this is exactly the kind of challenge that Mario Draghi identified in his report on European competitiveness. It's important to note that most of the market, Europe remains open to the partners. However, for sensitive and critical user cases, Europe must have stronger safeguards. CADA is explicit on that. It aims to accelerate cloud and AI rollout in critical sectors while keeping at the same time the vast majority of the market open to partners. And this is how we balance sovereignty with competitiveness. Sovereignty is not a wall. Sovereignty is a ladder of assurance. It gives public administrations the trust to buy cloud and AI, and it gives also providers clarity on what they must prove. It gives also investors a stronger signal that Europe is serious, and it gives our citizens confidence that critical services are protected. The proposal also promotes EU added value by rewarding local innovation and the resilience of the supply chain in public procurement processes. The European Commission as an institution is leading by example. I think you just heard maybe from the previous panel that in April we awarded 180 million sovereign cloud tender over 6 years for 4 European providers or consortia. And CADA will follow up now this example by unlocking the joint purchasing power of the Commission and our member states. We will be creating also the necessary level of public sector investment to support the scaling of next generation European cloud and AI providers. And finally, the proposal also takes an active stance regarding the promotion of open source software across the Union as a strategic feature of how public administrations develop and produce digital services. And indeed, we are not working on cloud only here. We have also, as a very important pillar of our tech sovereignty package, CHIPS Act 2.0, which strengthens the semiconductor base needed for AI and data centers. And we have also our open source strategy as a part of the package, and it further helps reduce lock-in and supports European alternatives and strengthens resilience across the software stack. For businesses, and particularly for our SMEs, tech sovereignty directly translates into the competitiveness. It will unlock a next level for digital transformation and productivity in Europe. And it goes hand in hand with our other policies supporting European businesses, lightening the regulatory burden in the digital omnibus, building the EU Inc., and also launching the EU business wallets. And for investors, it means a more predictable business environment, offering more opportunities for them to invest in Europe's growth. Overall, I'm very optimistic, not because the problems are small, but because Europe has, in the past 2 years, moved from diagnosis to very serious action. CADA will now be discussed with the Parliament and with our member states, and we will, of course, listen, and we will work with industry, and we will keep the balance between sovereignty and competitiveness at the center. But the direction is very clear here. Europe must become an AI continent, and Europe must build the cloud and data infrastructure to support that ambition. Europe must reduce critical dependencies, and Europe must do this in a way that strengthens our single market, widens choice, and also creates new opportunities. So my message to you today is therefore very simple. To public buyers, use your purchasing power strategically. To providers, invest, scale, and prove your claims. To member states, converse around a common European approach. And to partners, work with us transparently and on trusted terms. And to everybody in this room, help us make sovereignty operational. Engage with us to bring in your expertise and your willingness to bring a sovereignty mindset into the technical discussions and decisions you will make every day. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for all your work, and all the best for this afternoon and for your work.
Thank you very much, Executive Vice President Virkkunen. Your remarks provide valuable insights into how the European Commission is approaching the challenges and the opportunities associated with technology and security and innovation and digital sovereignty.